First of all, William, I would say thank you for spending some time to come and talk to us on our podcast. From what I was able to understand from our last conversation is that you and your team figured out that community is going to be a very important part of brands of the future as well as right now. And since you were already building communities and I would say in the scene, uh, you now are helping brands and businesses to build communities of their own.
Yeah, that sums everything up pretty much.
Yeah. So why don't you like share a little bit as to how you got introduced to computer as a device? Did you always have it at home?
I was born 2002, 2003, so back then we the computers were starting to become more of a thing, especially the personal computer at home. Previous to that, it had mostly just been businesses that use computers. But I remember it it would have been elementary school that I was first introduced to computers and things like that, because I remember back in uh, first grade we used a tool called Reading Eggs, which was like kind of it was online learning, but on the computer at school, and that was really where I first kind of got into the entire computer and technology ecosystem. And then I remember at like grade three probably I started looking at like I kind of probably started experimenting. I remember um, in year six I got in a lot of trouble because what the school had done was so all the devices at the school were like on a central network, and we didn't have like cloud storage. We didn't have like Google Drive or OneDrive. We had like kind of on premises storage. So it was essentially like a network drive hooked up on the internet. And the thing with that was that they had it obviously hadn't crossed their mind that some kid could come along and mess with it. And that's kind of what I ended up doing. I remember like kind of just playing around. They for some reason they gave students the ability to, I think it was like change permissions, and what ended up happening was I kind of ended up removing everyone from the drive. Um, so I think, yeah, for pretty much that entire week, no, no one could actually like access the network like drive itself. I think teachers could, but I don't think students could. And the thing is, the IT person like worked half a day a week, so it took them a while to get that back up and running. They never really worked it out. One other thing I will confess doing is I remember back in like year five or something, they had so we used this online tool called Mathletics, which was like kind of maths based online learning, and they literally they had a printout of the teachers' usernames and passwords on the wall, and I remember like writing it down and taking it home that night and just having a play around with all the different settings. Like, you could like I just remember I I don't want to say anything too bad, but like one thing I did was like I because you can what you can do is you can like lock people out from doing other things on it and make them do like quizzes and stuff. So I kind of did that for everyone. Um, I might have changed a few passwords here and there. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of experimentation in those years. I will say, like I remember back in year three, I made like a website with Microsoft Word because it has the feature where you can export it to HTML. So that's what I did. I played around with a bit of Apache, a bit of what was it? Yeah, just web stuff. But I never really had any clue what I was doing. It was just lots of experimentation, and yeah. And then I remember the first ever website I built was with web.com. That was when that was like probably like year three or something, when I was really like, how do I make a website? I didn't really understand the whole concept of it, and then I found this, and I was like, cool, we can make it, and it was free as well at the time, which was cool. Then in my later years of primary school, I tried making a social network at the end of like primary school or elementary because I was like, how could we all of us graduating and moving on to middle and high school, how can we all stay in touch? And I tried making this social network with with Buddy Press, I think it was called on WordPress, and I made that, but the business side of me hadn't like actually caught up to the stage that the tech side was at. So I made this, but there was no market for it. No, there was no market for it because everyone already had everyone else on Instagram, and there was no need for it. So that didn't go as particularly well, but I really enjoyed building it. So that's kind of like my primary school journey in terms of technology. Um, so yeah, I really just started from like doing it in class. At home, I remember because I should talk about at home. I remember back in when I first started, we had like this desktop with like this CRT really thick monitor. Um, and I used to do like my reading eggs and math eggs and stuff on that. And then like I think when I was like in year 1 or 2, we got like a laptop, and like it was back. We didn't have our own devices. It was like everyone shared it, but like I was really the main one who used it. It was only in year 5, I think, when I actually got my own laptop. It was like a two-in-one tablet, and I loved it. It was like my favorite thing ever, just because it was my own computer. I could do what I wanted with it. Only issue was it had 64 gigabytes of storage, so it could run the operating system and maybe like a couple programs. It couldn't really It wasn't designed to install big things on, and the screen was quite small. But that lasted me until mid year 8. So yeah, that is my
Today's episode is sponsored by Hyperskill, the place to learn code and create apps. In the vast landscape of coding and programming languages, finding a comprehensive and effective learning platform can be a daunting task. However, look no further than Hyperskill, the ultimate destination for aspiring coders and app creators. Whether you are a novice embarking on your coding journey or an experienced programmer seeking to enhance your skills, this platform offers tailored learning paths to meet your specific needs. The meticulously curated curriculum covers a vast array of programming languages, including Python, Java, SQL, and more, ensuring a well rounded and versatile skill set. What sets Hyperskill apart from other platforms is its immersive and interactive approach to learning. The platform combines theory and practice through engaging projects and hands on coding projects. As you progress, you'll have the opportunity to apply your newfound knowledge by creating real world applications, reinforcing your understanding of key concepts, and fostering a deeper learning experience. Embark on your coding adventure today with Hyperskill and unlock a world of endless possibilities. Please check out the link in the description below to support our today's sponsor, Hyperskill. Thanks. Now back to the episode.
Were your friends also like hacking into
no, no.
computers at the time? It was just
Uh,
you.
yeah, I went to a small primary school. Like there were only like 150 kids at it. So about 20 in each year. So they weren't a lot of they weren't really any people into what I was into. I find the stuff I was into was very specific niche. I did have friends who were kind of into it. They were more into the gaming side, so Nintendo. Back in the day, we had the Wii, the DS. Those were all good good things we did back in primary school. I remember I used to go to my friend's house. We played like the Xbox. We played like Lego Star Wars on the Xbox. I just love that. That was good fun. We had a Wii. I had a 3DS. I really liked I I really liked the DS, especially some of the games. The Wii was also great as well. I had a lot of good games on it. Like Mario Kart was great. I really like the games where you could get 4 people playing at once. And it was awesome. Like you have four. The screen split into 4 quadrants, so you have play 1, 2, 3, 4, and everyone can like see how everyone else is doing, and I just feel like I thought it was a really interactive game. The games they had on the Wii. I remember like one of the games I saved up for was like $60 at the time or something, or 50. It was the Cars 2 Wii game, and it was like I've spent hours playing that. That was like you had to buy it from a shop on a disc, and it was an awesome game. Like it was a bit like Mario Kart, but it was Cars 2 themed, and you get like weapon upgrades and you get to do different missions and things like that. And I just really liked it. But yeah, so that was kind of my gaming experience. I never had a PS4 or an Xbox. I just had the Wii, DS, and I didn't really get into PC gaming until middle school. So that's kind of like, and I didn't have a phone until middle school either. So that was kind of my entire elementary. So I kind of I think I was like probably 5 or 6 until like I was 12. That was kind of that, and as well, like my parents they were semi strict about it. They weren't too strict. They let me kind of explore, but there was like you can't have your phones. You can't have a phone until you're like go to high school, things like that.
Hmm. What does your parents do? Are they also into computers?
No. I mean, my mum does a bit for work, but not for my dad. I mean, my mum, like her. because she does an office job, so it's like it is computer based. But my dad, he's more practical, so no.
And then when did you find out that so you mentioned that at that time the business side of you had not really caught up. So when do you think that happened? Like when did you understand that maybe this internet thing, this game thing, that can be used to actually build something like a business, not just a product.
Look, I still don't think it's caught up with me. Um, in a way, like they're very two separate sides of me. Like when I think tech and I think business, I still don't really put them into one. I think of them as their kind of own stream of things, like technology programming, building websites, things like that are cool. But at the same time, business is a separate side of me. I find just because like the skills I have on the tech side are very, very dynamic. They're not like I don't really specialize in a particular area to an extent that I could, turn it really into a business opportunity. Um, Whereas on the business side, I feel like I can more like I can more lead a team of people to build a product rather than build the product myself. Um, like on the tech side, I know a bit of networking, a bit of data admin, a bit of server admin, a bit of data security, bit of programming, bit of digital marketing, if you can call that in the tech space. Technical support, Windows, Android, Apple. I just know like it just all these years of experimentation is really just kind of built up a very technical side where if you give me a task to do, I can generally do it if it's not like too computer in depth. Whereas I find a lot of people nowadays, like programmers for example, they focus very much on the programming element and not like all the other sides of it. Whereas I have a more broad focus on technology. Like I'm studying cybersecurity right now, and that cybersecurity is it might seem like a very small field, but you have to know a lot to do it. Like there's programming, there's server administration, there's data protection, there's network protection, there's hardware protection. There's just all these different components of cybersecurity that that's the thing I really like about it as well. Computer science is all about the arithmetic, the maths. I need something more practical. I need something where I can experiment with many different things rather than just program. Because personally, I don't really like programming that much. I find it pretty tedious, and I find it um, not like enjoyable. I much prefer to build PCs, data configuration. Server administration is a thing I really love, especially about my job. I love like you know I love building things that are already programmed. So like if there's an open source tool I want to use it like AOS for example, um, I'll go out, find it, and I can pretty much set it up myself. Um, so I know how to get around like using servers and things like that. And back in high school, I did it was a partial qualification of Cisco networking. So it was the first unit we did was building a simple network, and the second unit was configuring VLANs. I forgot what it was called, but it was just looking at how networks work and how all the different routing protocols such as Dijkstra's and First Hop and things like that, and all the like IP addressing as well. That was something I really actually struggled with, but once you understand it, it really made sense. Like you're given like an IP with a subnet mask, and it's like make make these two servers on it and set their IPs with their subnet mask and do all that stuff. And I thought the numbers part of it was really quite in depth and interesting. And I really liked the teacher in it as well. We had a lot of fun, and so while some of it was like theory based, there was a lot of practical to it. So there's a lot of testing and troubleshooting, and that's something I really enjoyed. Like we all got partnered up. So I one of my good friends is we were partners in class, and he and I, we'd load the scripts on. So the scripts were basically configuration. It was kind of like code, but it was just setting up configurations. So we'd load that on the server, and then we'd be testing to see if it could ping from one to the other. And we had a lot of fun with that. It was good fun. Sometimes it's funny, but sometimes all you need is a reboot and it just works, and you'll never know why it didn't work the first time. But we did spend a lot of time troubleshooting. That's one of the big things about the subject that we all did. Network administration, that and computers in general, was just a lot of troubleshooting. Like the way I learned to do anything is experimentation and troubleshooting. If I can't work something out, well, you go Google it or something. One thing I did actually read quite recently was that younger generations are better at finding information than the older generations. I feel like because we've grown up with things like Google, search engines, Bing, Stack Overflow. We're much more resourceful in trying to find our own information. So if I don't know something, generally I'll just go Google it and find it out, and that's how I learn. Um, Even when I'm helping people with tech, if I don't know the answer, I'll Google it and basically troubleshoot with the steps online. Um, Whereas I feel like other people would struggle with that a bit more. Like they'll look at the troubleshooting steps and they still just won't really understand them. So I feel like
And we're very hands-on about it, actually.
yeah, like my gaming PC, which I keep in my bedroom, is that I made that back in start of year 9. Yeah, that's when I made it. I remember talking to one of my friends. He gave me a good list of parts to use. I went out and bought it all. It was quite cheap for them buying it pre-made. I remember just building it, and I never looked back. And the great thing is now, um, like I can just upgrade it at ease. Like I know I'm upgrading the RAM soon because uh it's not I like gaming. You need a good RAM. So like that like I remember I upgraded the GPU, the CPU, the motherboard a while ago. One thing I have a habit of is like buying parts, but then they're not compatible with the rest, so then I have to upgrade everything. But for the most part, like it's been good. Like um, I really just I really like getting hands on with the tech that I use, and seeing how it all works, and just like the ease of being able to upgrade your own is like I'm not a fan of buying pre-made parts, pre-made computers, because I just know that if I want to upgrade a particular part, I've got to chuck the whole thing out and buy a new thing. Whereas if I build it myself, I can just like upgrade the RAM and stuff. Like with my computer right now, like literally I'll probably keep that for the rest for the remainder of time, because over time I'll just keep upgrading different parts. That's that. But then for work I use a Razer book, which I really do like. It's marketed as a gaming computer, but I tried gaming on it once and it's pretty trash. It's just laggy and stuff, but it's good for work because I actually, as part of my cybersecurity degree, we had to spin up a lot of virtual machines and do a lot of like virus testing and malware and analysis and stuff. So like this computer is good because it has the RAM, it has the CPU, it can run virtual machines, it can do all those, it can compile, it can edit videos, all those things. Um, that's what I like about it, and it's also portable, and it's not like big and bulky, so it's good if I'm traveling. Um, like when I went away earlier in end of September, like I took it with me and it did the job perfectly. Um, and yeah, if I want to move around, if I need to go somewhere, I can pick it up and take it with me. Whereas with the desktop, I can't take it with me, so it was a bit of a struggle before I actually had the laptop. But I really like the laptop. I think, look, the battery life on it's not very good, I will say, but I mean, fair enough considering how beefy it is. It lasts about 2 hours off battery power. I mean, it has like a 2080 in it, so um, and like an i7 10th generation, so it it's good. Like I can keep everything I need opened, and it doesn't lag or anything. To have experience, and like even like what I was talking about before with the Nvidia broadcast, like I know with Zoom and stuff that it uses Zoom's own resources, but with like Nvidia, like it uses its own built-in GPU, so I think it's a really cool thing to have. And like Razer as well is really nice. It has like they have really nice patterns on the keyboard and stuff like that, and utilities like yeah, like there's built-in Razer tools, so I can edit the chroma keys and match and mix them up. Um, and yeah, like I have a lot of stuff running in the background. Like I have I have multiple OneDrive's running. So I have like, a school one, my own one. I mean, a uni one, my own one. I have like the Razer tools. I have Flux for like, so I don't burn my eyes out at night. I use like ShareX, Spotify, Zoom, Logitech because I use Logitech products. I mean, I use a Corsair keyboard, but the microphone and webcam's Logitech. I have like Corsair keyboard just because it's nice and feels nice in the hands. To-do list, rescue time, Grammarly, OneNote. I recently got as part of uni, they recently introduced the OneDrive, the Creative Cloud suite, and I was like, damn, that's so good because like I had it back in high school. They gave it to every student, but then when I moved to my current uni, they didn't give it out for free. But now because I'm studying at 3 different unis at once at the moment. Like, and one of them, this one I'm starting at next year, gives it out for free. So I was like, yep, I'll take advantage of that. So I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but I used to be really into like Premiere Pro and like Illustrator and stuff because I did back in high school. I did VisCom, which is basically visual communication design, which was
Yeah.
a subject. So with that,
Is it like Photoshop and all those things?
yeah, so we looked at Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, basically making designs, products, packaging, banners, and all that kind of stuff. But I use Canva nowadays for all that stuff because it just has templates on it. So I just load up a template and go from there. Dreamweaver was another one of my favorite. And Acrobat, I can't believe they make you pay to have any good useful PDF editing features. Like, it's just so ridiculous that like you have to pay to edit PDFs to make PDFs to like do anything useful with a PDF nowadays.
Except for reading, everything is paid actually.
Yeah. Yeah, you can read the PDF, that's about it. You can't, export it, you can't create it, you can't comment, you can't do anything. So that's something I really did miss. Like, I'd have people come to me and they'd be like, hey, well, I need to generate this PDF, I need to make this PDF for these documents. I've got these photos, can you turn them into PDFs? I'll be like, I'd have to spend like, 15 minutes searching for a decent online tool that would do that, and it still wouldn't be very good. But now I have Acrobat Premium, so I don't care. It's good. Um, but I refuse to spend $59 a month on software. Like
To edit PDF, yeah.
yeah, I think the whole subscription software model is dumb. I think it's like they're just squeezing more and more money out. It's like I don't care about the updates. Okay, I just want to buy the product. I don't want to update it. I don't want to pay a subscription. I don't want to rent it. I just want to buy it outright. Like, it's pretty ridiculous nowadays. Like, I remember Word and Office, like back in the day, you'd buy the license to it and you get it forever. But now it's like, no, you got to buy the subscription. One thing though with gaming though, I'm a fan of Microsoft's I think it's called Xbox Game Service or something.
Where you can just buy games online.
Game Pass, yeah. Well,
Game
the thing
Pass.
with Game Pass is that it's just a subscription fee. So you pay like 10. I pay $10 every month, and I get access to like so many different AAA titles, and I think it's really good because a game like I'm really into story games, so I'll play the story and I won't play the game again. So with something like Xbox Game Pass, I can just pay $10 a month, play the story of the game I want, then uninstall it, then move on to the next game without having to spend like $70 on each game. Only downside, there's not too many good games in it. Like the only good game I'm playing at the moment is Far Cry 5. But I think it's really good in that way because while it's a subscription, you get access to all these different things rather than just one program. Like I wouldn't pay for a subscription to if I only got access to one game, I wouldn't be paying a subscription for it because I don't game too much anyway, so it wouldn't be worth it for me. But if I get access to all these good games, well, it's pretty good. So yeah, I have a lot of controversial opinions when it comes to tech and like things like Twitter at the moment. Like Twitter's just a bit of a. There's just from my point of view, people are just so disrespectful on it. Like there's just I believe in peace and
Why do you think? Why do you think that is?
because
Like you meet a person, they're completely normal. They go on Twitter and they are just a monster there. For some
yeah,
reason.
it's look, I don't really know personally. I don't know too many people. I don't really know people like that person. Like really, like in Australia, really there's only 20% of the population who uses Twitter in Australia. And most of us just use it for politics and news. Like, I really just use it to stay up to date with what's going on, and see if there's anything cool on it, like learn anything new. Because a lot of people, they post threads, but most of the time the threads are pretty crappy. They're just recycled data, that and recycled tips that we already know, just in a different way. But I think I enjoy going through Twitter and seeing what Elon's up to and stuff like that. I just think it's funny. Like, I just think, like, the other day I saw this post by, like, this comment. So this senator in the US, he some like news agency impersonated him because they could buy the blue tick, and he wrote a letter to Elon, and then Elon responded with like this really just rude remark, like saying you're basically a parody. And I just thought, like, dude, have some respect. Like, you might not like him, but it's like, why do we have to treat people like this? Like, I look personally, I believe in the greater good of the world. I think, like, we have to look after one another. It's Look, as a business owner, I will say a lot of us believe in, the American dream kind of thing, where you work hard, you do that. But I think, we work hard to a certain extent until we're comfortable where we are. But then beyond that, it's like, if you have $50 billion, it's like, you can't spend that on yourself. Why hog it? Like, just do something good with it. So that's what I'd personally do. Like, I donate to charities monthly. I'm actually I recently found this thing. It's called like Kivia or something, and basically like it's basically people. It's micro loans. So people put up like the requests for loans for like humanitarian or like personal or like education projects, and people can donate. It's not really a donation because most of the time you get your money back. But I started putting money into that. So I help fund different causes, and like I don't make anything off it because it's non that we don't. It doesn't charge interest. It's giving the money to people, and then 6 months or so later they pay it back, but no interest added on. Um, but I think it's a good way to help people kickstart their own adventures. Like up until probably a couple of years ago, my business building was quite like, I want to say, on the introverted side. Like I did not network with a lot of people. I didn't really understand a lot about it, and like all of the like anyways, for example, that's all. I don't even know how we funded that. Like we didn't have any investors. We don't have any capital. It's really just like it's just been it was probably my personal finances back in the day. Um, and then like as soon we started making profits, so then we started using that. But
How did you set it all up? Like, is it like a group project? Is it just you thinking through things and trying to figure something out?
so we kind of so we're registered as like a sole property, so I own everything basically. So I'm like, yeah, I kind of there's no board of directors, there's none of that. I can't be voted out essentially. Um, and then we have a pretty much, I want to say, how big's the core team? So we kind of have like the core team. They're the people who kind of like run all the different things, all the different operations. We have one, two, three, four, five, six, including me. So five other than me. That's the core team. So for example, we have me. Then we have Andy, who looks after the technical side of things. Then we have Jeffrey, who looks after our growth based services. Then we have Zach, who looks after more development and graphic design services. Then we have Stefan, who is the operations manager, and we also have Kaylee, she's kind of the community manager, so she looks after the community part, um, and she also helps out with social media and things like that. So we have the core team. Then we have kind of a step down from that. We kind of have our contractor team, who, like for example, um, provide the services, give out the advice. And then from down there, we have kind of the community volunteer team who like do moderation, hold events, things like that. So it's kind of like a hierarchical structure. And then we also have a couple of people we hire on Upwork who do like help out with social media, SEO, video editing. things like that. So that's kind of our staff hierarchy. We used to have like back in the day when everyone was like it was much more volunteer based. We had like 80 staff members at one point, and it was just ridiculous. Like we had all these teenagers who were just working for us. And it was quite all over the place. And I remember thinking like we have way too many people. I'm spending all my time looking after staff. We're not able to produce anything good because we're just consistently looking after staff where that matters. And things are a lot better now. Like we have about 30 30-ish staff members in total, including our volunteers, contractors, and employees. Um, feels big, but like you got to remember that really the it's really the core team who do majority of the work. The other departments are more just supporting and providing the services we need.
Does it get a bit overwhelming for you to manage all of it?
Ah,
What do you think?
oh, not particularly. Like it's very very self sufficient. Like we have very good processes in place for how things get done. Someone makes an order, they message the bot, it gets added to the Trello queue, and then the team pick things off the Trello queue and do that. Um, Majority of my job is building new things, talking to customers. That's really it. Uh, Other people kind of handle the internal stuff. So, um, like even today, like I didn't have a lot on today. I managed to get everything done by like 11 a.m. and then I just went and chilled for the rest of the day. Like some days, like last night I was pretty tired, but then like 8 p.m. I just had this sudden burst of energy, and I just did a solid hour. So like I'm all over the place, and that's the thing I like. The flexibility is pretty good. I can come and go as I pretty much want.
And when you say you talk to customers, right? So what kind of companies work with you? Like what kind of businesses they are into? They sell products, services.
A lot of gaming based businesses. So game development companies will come to us, want to promote their Discord server to get their game off the ground. We'll do that. Also crypto, a lot of crypto NFTs wanting to start their project. Those are really our two main um, projects that we work with in the space. Like we're actually working with a new company. It's kind of game betting, and I think it's a really really cool idea. What they're doing, where essentially they like. I don't want to say this wrong because I'll probably get in trouble, but like, um, the way it works is that what you do is you compete in video games worldwide, and it's kind of like poker in a way. So it's kind of skills based gaming, which I think is a pretty cool idea. I don't think it has been experimented too much, but they're doing a lot of good community things, so I think they have a good chance of success.
Where do you feel the gaming industry is going right now? Like I recently I was subscribed to Google Stadia, and they emailed me that in January they're gonna shut the whole thing down because I don't think they were able to figure it out. Google Stadia, the streaming
Oh
game
yeah,
things.
that. I think things like Stadia and stuff they really struggle because technology is becoming cheaper and cheaper to buy, um, and play decent games on. So, uh, gaming, I think games are getting better and better. Like, I'm really like excited. Like, there's a new Modern Warfare I'm pretty excited about. I haven't bought it yet because I'm just like, I haven't finished the first one yet. That's still on the to-do list and stuff. And I'm really looking forward to GTA 6. That'll be really good. Um, VR is going to be a big thing, I think, because it's kind of becoming more inexpensive as well. Like I was playing Among Us on VR before with one of my friends. It's really cool because I work with a lot of international people, so VR is kind of the closest thing we can get to being in person because we can move our arms around, we can look around, we can walk around. It's just it's pretty good. The only issue is internet speeds. If you have a like one of my friends, he's a pretty bad internet because he lives out in the middle of nowhere, so he dags a lot and stuff like that. But I think it's gonna get better over time as we develop better technologies and um we just work on that sort of stuff. But games is the thing is the same with games. They're just becoming more and more complex as well. They're requiring better and better hardware to play. So I think that is a barrier to it. Like I know I wouldn't consider buying a console personally. Like I'm not I I don't want to call myself a gamer like I used to be, but I'm not as much anymore. I I struggle to find the time, and B it's just a bit of a sometimes it feels like a bit of a slodge to get through. Like, if I get to the end of a tiring day, I'll be like, I can't, like, because gaming, it requires physical exertion in a way. It requires you to think and stuff. So, like, watching YouTube or Netflix or like Disney Plus is just a lot easier on the brain because you're just consuming content instead of having to give back. But I think gaming, especially for me, it's a great stress reliever because I can play if I'm especially with friends, I can just get lost in it. We can have fun, and we can work as a team to do things. So I think that's good. Great thing as well. It's great for stuff. It's great for bonding with your team because like a lot of my team members they're gamers. So we hold gaming competitions. We play games. We do all those awesome things. Like earlier today I was playing with one of my team members. We were playing VR Among Us. I think I said that before. And that was pretty fun. And we have a few more who are going to get it. Because VR games they're not all that good compared to PC games, but they're starting to get there. Like they're pretty cheap as well. They're not too pricey compared to AAA games. They're probably like half the price of AAA games. Like Among Us was like for me, it was like $10 to buy on VR, more like $8 USD because I operate in many different currencies. Like my company runs on USD, but then I'm from Australia, so I run in AUD. But then we keep all our money in USD because it's cheaper than converting back and forth because majority of our business is in the US. So it's kind of just I have to think a bit when it comes to currencies. It's just
Do you think your parents understand what you do?
no, absolutely not. Um, no one really knows what I do.
Can I share a funny story?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we started this Sunday pajamas thing in 2016, and I'm in India, right? So at the time, not a lot of people had figured out how to like use Facebook ads, and I was still in like second year of my college, and I just ran like an ad of my own, and it got some views because I mean you're paying money for it, right? So I took the dashboard and I showed it to a couple of businesses around, like local businesses, like things like caterers and restaurants and cafes. And they went pretty crazy about it. Like they thought that's like the coolest thing, right? And so I told them that, if you want me to run ads for you, I can do that. And so we started doing that, right? And that was exactly the time when my mom, I think, got on Instagram. And so she started asking me like, what do you do exactly, like why are these restaurants and cafes paying you money, like what are they paying you money for? And I told her that, mom, how you post things on Instagram? She's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I post things on Instagram, but I get paid for it. And yeah, I don't think she got it for like 2 years. And then I kind of had to show
yeah,
her that, this ads thing, yeah, that actually makes money if you.
mm. Yeah. One thing I will say is that unfortunately, I am permanently banned from Facebook ads, and I'm pretty devastated about it. What happened was like back when I was 13 or 14, I was a bit of an idiot, and I must have like racked up this massive ads bill, but I mustn't have paid for it, and they must have just like blacklisted me. And now like I can't appeal it or anything, and I'm just like, oh, I can't run Facebook ads, so it's just a bit. But it doesn't really matter because my target audience doesn't even use Facebook, so it's like I could run Instagram ads from the app if I need. But it's kind of sad, but at the same time, it's like, oh well. But in terms of like people knowing what I do, like my parents, the extent of what they use is Facebook. They don't use anything beyond that. Um, and look, my mum, she's in a lot of online communities. But I don't talk a lot about. Like they follow the socials, they follow my business socials, so like they kind of know what we do. They like our posts, when we make new videos and things like that. But I don't think really like
They
they've
actually
caught on
know.
to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I know, like I because I so I personally I do a lot of different things. I tutor high school kids. I do kind of sports coaching and medic stuff on that side. What else do I do? I run an eBay store. That kind of just popped up out of nowhere, and I kind of just like, yep, we're running this now. What else do I do? I I kind of do on the side jobs as they come up. I'd like to do user research. Like, I found a great way to make money is giving people feedback on their products, and I found a pretty good platform. And you can make some decent money doing that. And then I
Nice.
also have AOS, so it's
What
kind of a
what
bit just
what is the
something.
platform
Which one?
to give people feedback?
It's called Askable. It's Australian based though, and basically they just like post different research opportunities, and you answer some questions, and they get back to you if they're interested. Um, like I recently did some research for Patreon, um, and they pay quite well for that. I really enjoyed it as well. I just like talking to people about my experience with different things. I just like sharing. Um, where was I? Oh yeah, back to the parents. So yeah, that they like my dad. He's always a bit like any jobs today and stuff. And I'm always like no, because whenever he refers to that, he's always referring to things like where I go outside and do things rather than stay home. So I don't think he really understands the concept of where you can make money from home. Because I spend hours and hours here, but I don't think he really recognizes what I do. For the most part, he probably just thinks I stuff around doing nothing, um, not really working. So,
Do you get what, like, I don't know? Does it frustrate you or no? You're okay with it.
look, it used to, but it doesn't really bother me anymore because I've come to accept now that that's just what he believes in. That's how he was raised. That's how things work. So, and I've become a lot more like questioning of advice or judgment I receive. Like I used to be like, whenever I got advice, I'd be like, oh yep, I'm taking that award. Yep, I'm doing that. But now I'm a lot more like, is this really good advice? Is this really a correct judgment? Like if I put myself in their shoes, do they really have all the information? So like, I'll see things on Twitter like people giving advice, and I just think to myself, that's the most outrageous thing I've ever heard, and the dumbest thing I would ever have. I would never ever consider doing that. Um, Whereas I used to be like, because I was back when I was like naive and like not as I wasn't like as developed as I was. I was like, yep, I'll take that. Yep, I'll do that. Yep, I'll do that. So I didn't really question the source of information I got. But now I like to make sure that I have the best available data when making decisions before I go doing anything too drastic.
Can you imagine living without tech around us?
I don't.
Because I
Yeah,
can.
I think that sometimes I think like, what would I do with my life? Like, what would I do all day? Like, this is literally what I do all day. I sit, stand there. So I just it's what I like doing. Like, you know, I have like personally, I have friends that I see in person, but like I don't see them all that much. Like, and I don't feel the need to. Like, I don't feel lonely what I'm doing. Like, I have this awesome team that I work with. Like every single day, I talk to these people. It's just I really enjoy it. I voice chat with them, we video chat, we play games. You know, it's pretty much the same thing. Um, so I just I don't feel that need for connection. I guess when you run an online community, that is what it is. Um, there's lots of people in the community as well that I like. Uh, they might be a bit trolly sometimes, but you know, they're pretty cool. Um, and I really like talking to staff and hearing their stories about what they get up to. Um, I just I like hearing other people's experiences. Um, about things like I read a lot. I just finished those. Like I just For the last few weeks I've been reading Steve Jobs' biography, and it was one of the best read books I've read in a while. Like it was just so interesting. I remember like I'd be reading it in bed, and then I'd be staying up like half an hour past my bedtime just because it was so interesting. I wanted to keep reading it. It was like a really interesting read about what him and I don't know how you pronounce his name. Is it Wojciech? Yeah, Wojciech. Jobs and Wojciech did, and how they built Apple, and the failures they went through, but also the successes and his leadership style and things like that. Um, that was a really interesting read. I also kind of make an effort to listen to a podcast a day, generally like an interview or something like that, just because I find it's enlightening to hear what other people get up to and you know what other people do. Um,
Last week, not last week, this week itself, I was talking to uh, this person called Shergi. He's from Ukraine, and he was sharing, like, he built a business, sold it, so he's in a very good place now.
Yeah.
And he shared that in Ukraine, right, like his family and stuff, uh, nobody knew English, and he was the first person to learn English by watching NBA from America. And and then later on he found out that, okay, if you know English, you can negotiate deals with, or you can communicate with people across the globe. And so now his business is to help businesses from Ukraine negotiate better with clients across the globe. And I grew up listening to English around me, like it was just accepted that you can, English is just there. But
Yeah.
when I heard him share his story, like he was so passionate about English, right? And that how one language changed his life. And I was like, okay, that's
Yeah,
new.
I think like I grew up with English, so it was pretty easy for me to bring on board. But like I studied languages. Like I did like I carried through Chinese and
Mandarin
Latin.
or
Yeah,
Cantonese.
Mandarin.
Okay.
Mandarin. And Latin. I did Chinese up until year 10. But like it was probably partially because I didn't even care about it. Like I really, really struggled to like learn it and like, um just retain anything about it. So like, you know, I'm just languages for me were just never really a really fun thing to do. And I guess I'm kind of fortunate in a way that like English is pretty much a global language, whereas if you like speak French or something, it's a bit harder to communicate with people across the globe. You have to kind of know two languages. Um,
I'm actually realizing it when I'm doing the podcast. Like, for example, you were in Australia, that person was in Ukraine. I talked to a scientist from Poland, and I'm freaking out every day. I'm like, how is this happening? I'm just connecting with people from where, like, I know that Poland exists in the world, but I don't think about Poland on a very regular basis. So, like, to get a chance to talk to a scientist from there who worked in CERN, the science facility,
yeah,
I was like, okay, this is the coolest thing that ever happened to me, man.
yeah, it's just, like I have friends I know online from who are from Poland. Um, they're interesting. I think the internet's making the world a more accessible place. Like anyone from any country can get online and send a message to another person. It's not like we had to mail letters in the mail and, or even when texting was in, like, but you had to pay like a lot of money to text overseas or something like that. Before we had like more web based applications.
Like, I think my mom is finally catching on to the whole podcasting scene. My dad gets it. He calls it the new age radio. But like,
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Like, what I think podcasting has over radio is that it's convenience. So you can listen to what you want when you want. Whereas with a radio, you listen to whatever's on at that time. It's the same thing with TV. Like, you have to watch whatever's being played at that time. Whereas, like, I never watch live TV. I usually watch catch up or Netflix or something, just because I can watch it when I want. I can watch what I want when I want, the parts I want, at a convenient time for me. Because you know,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
that's why I like podcasts a lot more. Um, and I feel like radio, yeah. One other thing on radio, it's a bit harder than podcast to access because you kind of like you either have to have like a radio to access it on, or find like a website to watch it on. Whereas with podcasts, they're everywhere: Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon. Um, they're a lot more accessible. I feel, and there's a lot more of them. Anyone can just start a podcast, and it's great.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think our the idea that we can just build a global business from day one? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, I
think
get it. I kind of grew up with it, but I still kind of is like, whoa, what?
Yeah, I feel like, AYS in itself wouldn't be where it is without like the globe because, majority of our user base is American. So it's from the US and Britain. So, I might run this from Australia, but everything's happening in the US pretty much. All the activities happening around there. Everything's like hosted and managed in the US. But I kind of, I'm a virtual employee if you think about it. I'm remote. Um, and like I think time zone wise, like you get very good at understanding what time it is in places without having to look at like a clock. Like I know, like Alaska right now, it's 9 p.m. in Alaska. Like UK, it's about I want to say 7:30 in the morning, maybe 8:30 in the morning. In the east, it's going to be like 4 or 5 a.m. PST is going to be like I want to say like 11 p.m. ish, maybe a bit later. But I get a general gist. Like I've worked out that mornings are the peak time for activity, and then afternoons are kind of dead, and then evenings it kind of comes back to life when all the Europeans wake up. So it really is a global thing. We're working across time zones here. Bad thing about me is that I'm in a quite inactive time zone. So like if I woke up 4 hours earlier, I'd be really at the peak of it. But that's really just impractical for me because I live in Australia. So maybe I'll move one day if things really take off. Maybe I'll set up permanent base in the US. But it's a fair way off.
Do,
But
do you do you
yeah.
think about like, okay, what's next all the time, or is it like not so frequent thought?
I really just take every day as it is. I think like the thing is, I just do so many different things in life. I'm all, like I still don't really know what I want to do. Like when I graduate, I'm like I don't know what I want to do. Like I'm looking at like I want to run AWS, but then I'm also like, well, I want to go work for the government in like either a law or cybersecurity, or maybe like like a government regulator, like or maybe I want to work for like
That's what you want to do. You want to become a cybersecurity regulator.
that's one of the many things I want to do. Like maybe become like a human. I want to work either then like because I'm studying law as well. Like maybe like criminal or human rights law that really interests me. Um, then we've got AWS as well. I was considering becoming a paramedic. I was like, I really like paramedicine's a very interesting field. Like it's kind of one of my part time jobs, like being like a sports medic, where I go to sporting events and I like deal with the first aid and stuff. I think that's like a really interesting and like it's an exciting like you're dealing with you're leading in situations where everything's gone to crap kind of thing and that's just really like I feel like that'd be a calling in a way. Like I was literally like mid this year I was like I was really considering scrapping my current course and switching to paramedicine, but I didn't. But like that's like at the same time I'm studying at 3 different universities. Like so my main university is my main degree. Then I'm studying a diploma of leadership management at one uni, and then at another uni, I'm studying next year. I'm studying a diploma of social media marketing. So like it's all I'm just trying out all these different things, especially because the government subsidizes it because I'm younger. So it's like well, may as well it's cheap. We may as well go for it.
You are doing a couple of things, right? Do you think everyone is doing it now, or do you think it's just you who is like
Nah,
super excited about things?
I look. A lot of my friends, they just like that. They have the one part time job. They do their uni studies, and then they kind of just chill out for the rest of life. I I get bored just like just doing nothing. I find
I
that
feel you, man. Yeah.
I like the hustle culture, but at the same time, I'm very conscientious that if I go 100% for too long, I burn out. So it's about just being strategic with what I do. Like if I have a burst of energy like last night, I'll just go for it. Otherwise, I'll take it easy like I did today. Um, what else? Like I want to travel as well sometime. Like I'm hoping to go to Europe next year. Um, depending on how all the uni stuffs go and the business and stuff like that. But one of my mentors said to me, maybe it's time to start spending money on yourself. Like start a put money back that you've like, made in profit, put it into like, rewarding yourself and doing cool things and stuff like that. So, you know, that's something I do want to consider. But I feel like it's a big step to take.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but you can like, try to make it a part of it, part of what you do. Like don't do
yeah,
it,
like,
like, don't go
yeah,
like,
like,
way too
yeah. The
deep
thing with
into it.
Europe is that there's so many people there that I've met that I actually want to go meet. Um, but my only issue at the moment is like just trying to, because the thing is, if I go right now, like I have like uni, I have my diploma stuff on. Um, so those two things would really like be a barrier. Most of my other work though is kind of drying up for the year because with school ending for the end of the year, like tutoring and sports coaching and like sport first aid, that all kind of ends around nowish. Like I don't actually have anything lined up until next year for that sort of stuff. So that's all kind of died off for now. But I know like next Saturday, like I'm actually going interstate next week with family. I'm going to Queensland next week. And then on the Saturday, I'm working. We have a state election, so deciding who's going to be the next premier of the state. I'm working as like an election officer, so I hand out the voting cards and things like that. Um, and I do it for two reasons: A, it pays a lot for the day, and B, like it's a fun thing to do. You're participating in the democracy of the state. I'm really into politics. Like that another one of my hobbies, the news and politics is something I really like. I've been like with like, the midterms in the US, that's something I've been following really closely. Even with the election in Australia, that's something I followed really closely. Um, but as an election officer, I have to maintain I have to maintain impartiality. So like I can't say like either side. Like while I'm very politically motivated inside, like for particular parties, like I have to remain impartial to keep my job. Um, yeah,
Well, I would say this was a chill, nice conversation. It was nice.
yeah. I like going on tangents about things. I did it. I went on this other podcast with my other friends. I went on a tangent to just about like how learning is good and consistent learning is very beneficial. Um, yeah. Sometimes I just get carried away. I'm just like, yep, go tell a story.
Yeah, but like I think that's how it should be.
Yeah. Don't hold anything back, kind of thing. Be vulnerable. Um, just tell it as it is, and yeah, hope it makes for a good podcast. Really. Um,
I think that's the only way to make a good podcast actually.
yeah,
Like, even I'm kind of learning on the job. It has not been that long. But like every person I meet, right, after I talk to them, I spend like the next 40 minutes just trying to, get the entire context of their lives. In the sense, I was talking to someone who's like 45 years old or 35 years old, 50 years old, and in 2 hours, 3 hours, right, they'll go from how was their childhood to what they're gonna do in the next 5 years, right? So that's like a 30, 40 year time frame you have in like 2 hours. And I don't know, it just excites me a lot to listen to things like that.
yeah, yeah. One thing I just add at the end is that like there's a lot of tutorials and guides online you'll find like about things, but what I've come to realize is that nothing ever really applies to you. You have to find what works for
Yeah.
you. Like I was always like very struck by the idea of like work life balance kind of thing. And you finish at a set time, you start at a set time, you do all that. But like, you have to do what works for you. You have to do like what you need, not what someone else thinks. So that's something I've come across. And you just gotta take chances in life. Life's short. No point in just not taking any risks. Um, just go for it. Really, what do you have to lose? Like you look at these massive entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs. He lost billions of dollars. He even lost his job. But he came back stronger than ever, kind of thing. So I have this poster. You might have heard of it. It's called the iceberg motivational poster. And it's essentially like success is on the top, which is what we see. Then below, underwater, on the rest of the iceberg is like all these different things. And I just have it on my wall as a nice reminder. If I'm ever feeling down, I'm like, you know what? Take a break. It's all gonna be all right. Um, come back to it another day. There's been so many times I wanted to quit, but I'm glad I just didn't. I'm glad I just kept pushing through because it's pretty good. It's pretty rewarding. where we are now. A lot of entrepreneurs and things, like business owners, that they downplay the success of what they do. They're like, we've made this thing, but it's like compared to like these massive businesses, like, oh, it's nothing. But you compare it to like your average Joe, it's like this is pretty cool. I get carried away a lot in that sort of sense. Um,
How is it for you, on this, on the other side of this podcast?
I really liked it. I I just like, I have an idea, I just go with it. Especially when I make blog posts, YouTube videos, things like that. I'll come up with the idea on the spot and I really just go for it. Like, it might not be the best idea in hindsight because you don't think about it too much, but that's just how I roll. Like, I recorded 2 YouTube videos earlier for our YouTube channel, and I pretty much came up with the ideas on the spot. I'm like, "Yep, that's a new product release. Yep, I'll promote that." And like, I literally just made a Quora post earlier today. I'm like, "I'll make a video on that post I just answered." Um, so yeah, I just like sharing my experience